I'm now joined by Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain's coming off, he made his UFC debut at UFC 170, beating Cody Gibson and taking his professional record to 9-0. Aljamain, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations on a successful UFC debut.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about the build then, because originally you were due to fight, or I know you were brought in late, but you were due to fight Lucas Martins, and then the opponent got changed. How does that affect you when you're building up to a fight when the opponent's changed?
It didn't really affect me too much. I figured for the most part, since it was already a short notice fight, I had to push the cardio hard anyway, so it didn't matter. So that was still going to be my main priority for that camp and that 3.5 weeks notice that I had. For the most part, all I did was watch a couple of videos, and my coaches and I just wanted to get an idea of what my opponent liked to do, and just kind of go from there, and kept it simple, try to figure out what would work that I like to do, and we didn't really change much, so that was kind of the game plan, and there was not much of a difference in the change from Martins to Gibson.
How did your cardio feel going into the fight? Because it was a tough fight, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. I think my toughest fight to date.
So how did you feel going in? Did your cardio feel good going in?
Yeah, I felt good going in. I don't feel like I was very nervous. I almost felt like I'd been there before. It was kind of weird how that feeling just came about. But I think the only difference was fighting in Vegas for the first time in the desert compared to fighting on the East Coast. I think that was a big difference in the climate change. But yeah, I felt confident going in. The only thing I felt weird about was my breathing. I felt like I got really dry and hard to breathe really quick right before I even got into the cage. Or during the walkout, I felt like I had cotton mouth.
What was the build-up like as well, of course, because there's always the media hype around a UFC event, especially with it being in Vegas as well. So what was the build-up like? Is that something you hadn't experienced before?
No, it was relatively new. I've never experienced that before, but it was cool. I enjoyed the moment. I enjoyed the process, and I'm looking forward to more things like that. I think you just gotta be able to deal with that kind of stuff, and I don't think much changes after that. For the most part, I don't think you make a bigger deal than what it is, then it won't be as big as a deal. It's only as big as a deal as you make it, in my opinion.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the fight, because it was a close fight. I mean, all the judges scored at the same, 29-28. You know, you took the first round, Cody come back and took the second round. After 2 rounds, and with it being 1-1, and like you're saying, with it being short notice fight for you, how did you feel going into that third round?
I thought, all right, everything I got right here, right now. Show everybody where your heart on the sleeve, and show everybody what you're made of. And I think I did a good job doing that. I think I pushed the pace in that third round and got a couple of key takedowns, which helped slow him down a bit. And I think holding position, especially in that third round with that half guard position, landing those big body shots, I think definitely solidified that I was clearly winning that round, and I think that made all the bigger of a difference going into the scorecards.
How confident were you when it went to the scorecards? Because we have seen some decisions in the past that haven't really gone the way they should have gone. So how did you feel that the fight was going to go?
I thought it was going to be 29-28. I was almost absolutely sure I won the first. I know the second round, I think he didn't really do much in terms of damage, but he definitely did more in the controlling department, and I definitely gave him round 2. And I knew going into the third round it was one apiece, and I knew I had to come up big in the third just to kind of show that I was definitely the guy doing most of the work in the first, and definitely did all the work in the third. So I mean, I was pretty confident. I know that the first round you could have, I guess, maybe scored it for him. I'm not sure how you would do that, just because I landed a lot more and I thought my output was a lot higher, and I was a little bit more active in the cage in that first round. So that was my mindset thinking going into the scorecards.
Now, of course, talk a little bit about your training as well. You train with Matt Serra and Ray Longo, of course, two really well-known names in the UFC. And, of course, also Chris Weidman trains out of that camp. What's it like being around that camp at the moment? Because there's so much hype on that camp at the moment with what Chris Weidman did, obviously, against Anderson Silva on 2 occasions.
It's awesome training here. We got a lot of good guys, especially our coaches. I think that's what separates us. Our coaching staff is what really elevates all of our games to to where we are so far. I mean, you got Ally Clinton just on a 35 win streak. You got Eddie Truck Gordon. You'll be seeing him pretty soon. You got Costa Philippou. When he was on his 5-5 win streak. You have Weidman, who's a champ, and you got me, who just came in. And I think you're going to see a lot more different type of things coming out of us in terms of the striking department. You got Ray Longo. He's a mastermind when it comes to the stand up. And you have Matt Serra, who's just he's a wizard on the ground in the grappling department anywhere. So you got him. You got Pete Dragosel. You know, he's a veteran. He knows the ground game. He's fought for the UFC. So we have a ton of guys, and I think things are only going to go up from there.
Yeah, the names you mentioned are all impressive names, especially when you talk about the coaching. Now, another thing I wanted to mention as well, there was quite a little bit of hype. There was a little bit of hype on you coming into the fight, especially with it being your UFC debut. And of course, you've been compared to the UFC light heavyweight champion Jon Jones. What do you think to comparisons like that?
Yeah, can you say that again?
Yeah. There was quite a bit of hype on you coming into the UFC, as it was your UFC debut, but there was still quite a bit of hype on you coming in, and you've been compared to the UFC light heavyweight champion Jon Jones. Your fight style has. What do you think to comparisons like that?
I think it's cool. I think it's very flattering. I don't think you got to see much of that comparison in that fight. I mean, maybe my first fight compared to his first fight, but I definitely do a lot of the stuff that he does, and it's not because he does it. I think we're more so open-minded to try those things. So I don't really think it's just him. I just think I'm more open to trying those I guess high-risk moves, because I know the rewards from it if you actually do connect and actually do it, and just because it keeps the guy off balance a lot and keeps him guessing. He's not going to know what you're going to throw at him. Especially if you look at that third round, I think you could actually see when I start to pick up the pace on the feet and start to hit my feints a lot, and I kind of kept him guessing. He kind of didn't know where I was coming from, and then I kind of threw my straight left down the middle, and then I shot it on my takedown, and I kind of went from there. I think that's kind of what Joe Rogan meant when he was giving that comparison, that we both aren't afraid to try those type of things inside the cage.
Now, as well, of course, with this being a 3-round fight, one of the things you always worry about, of course, is picking up injuries. Did you pick up any injuries or knocks from the fight, and when would you like to get back in and compete again?
No serious injuries, but I did tweak my shoulder and my knee, and I got to get a follow-up on my MRI for my brain. I don't know what happened, but it's like a weird thing that happened that they want to just make sure everything's all right. So besides that, I think I'm pretty good and good to go. I should be able to start training again next week, hopefully, if I get cleared to go. And I'm hopefully looking at a return for May or June, sometime around then. Just want to take some time off and really sit with my coaches and fix all the mistakes I made and look at the pros and look at the cons and try to really elevate my game. I think that's huge when you improve every single fight. I definitely know I made a couple of rookie mistakes, and I know I made them. So I think that's one good thing. You got to be open-minded and kind of know that you could always improve. And I think everybody's going to be a lot more excited to see me the next time around and see what I can do. I think I'm going to definitely shock a lot more people.
Yeah, I think there will be as well. I mean, I know you're new to the division, but you have picked up your first victory in the UFC. Have you got your eye on a potential opponent for the future?
Nah, I don't. I think, obviously, any one of those top grapplers, I think would be a fun match, just because I think my grappler is one of the top-notch guys, as top as any of those guys in there, like Caraway or Delorme or Kong Young Dong or something like that. So I don't know his name, but he's I think the Korean guy. But just saying, like a match like that would be fun, and that's pretty much it. I mean, even if they give me a striker, it doesn't really matter. I think my style with match up anybody makes for a fun fight. So I come to fight, come to bring the pace, push the pace, and I think that just always makes for a fun fight for the crowd. And I think that's all that really matters, besides winning. But
of course.
Yeah.
And definitely the fun fight for the crowd's good, because that's what's going to bring you back, so that the fans can obviously see more of you. Final question for you then, before we let you do shout-outs and let you go. What kind of deal have you got with the UFC? How many fight contract have you signed?
I signed a 4-fight deal, and yeah, that's about it.
Well, that's brilliant. Well, I really appreciate you giving me your time, and obviously congratulations on your first UFC victory.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And before we let you go, I just want to give you a chance to do any shout-outs. I'd like to shout out your Facebook and your Twitter, then any friends, family, sponsors that you'd like to thank as well.
I'd like to thank my coaches, Ray Longo, Matt Serra, my brother for definitely coming out to support me. He's been in my corner for, I think, just about every single one of my fights since I was an amateur. I definitely want to thank my sponsors, Bad Boy, Ultra Lube, and Titan Body Wash for hooking me up. Bad Boy hooked me up with a lot of gear for this fight, and they definitely held me down. So I think that was really cool, and definitely wanted to shout out my girlfriend for supporting me coming out to my debut. I know it was tough for her to make it, and my high school coach, he's played a big part in my life, so definitely want to shout him out.
Well, thank you very much for your time, and I can't wait to see you step back into the octagon again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'll talk to you soon.